Welcome back to just like a talking video. I'm excited about this. We have always been doing vlogs, and I haven't been able to sit down and do these because you guys know, like, my nose issue. I always sound like a dork. It is getting better. I skipped surgery, and I decided to get to the ground root of it. I pretty much moved to a full keto, doing 1,000 push-ups a day. I'm doing 1,000 reps of something else every day, and this has been for the last like month and a half, and I'm feeling great. My autoimmune, or whatever you call it, is going back to normal. So today, past that, I want to talk about this article. Now, I follow this website called Minimalist Vegan. Now, I'm not a vegan, but I like their writing when they talk about like minimalism stuff, because it just gives you new ideas. And this article was posted recently, and I thought it'd be kind of cool to sit down and go over it, because I've been doing minimalism for about 7 years total time. It took me a couple years to really get into it fully. But I want to talk about how I've adapted to it, what I think about it after all these years. I have actually changed something, and it's not what you would expect. With that being said, let's get into the article. It's the pros and the cons of minimalism and the life of desperation or abundance. And I feel over time, my idea of minimalism has changed. Like, it's a lifestyle, right? Like, you don't just throw everything out the window and be like, I don't have anything, because then you kind of come back and like, well, shit, I feel the same and I just threw everything away. And we have to think outside of that, where we're not, it's a lifestyle, right? It's like, if you're a vegan, it's a lifestyle. If you're a boxer, it's a lifestyle. Like, you have to like make this part of your life. So today I want to break down these pros and their cons and how they've related to me after 7 years. So without further ado, my friends, let's get into it. Your spaces will look more appealing, 100%. I love that I don't live in clutter no more. Like, when I go to hotels, I kind of pack everything and make the hotel feel like my own home for those like 3 or 5 days that I'm staying there. And I don't have to worry about getting a U-Haul when I'm about to leave, or spending 7 hours getting everything packed up. So your spaces definitely look more appealing, and it's not as cluttered as it would be normally, right? When you learn to be minimal with the stuff that you have and make sure it has value to you, things do look more appealing. Your house looks more attractive. It doesn't look cluttered. It doesn't look ridiculous. And that's something about traveling. Like, I meet these backpackers in like hotels and hostels, and they'll be out like on the floor, just like sprout out with like 4 bags of crap trying to organize it. It's just like, what are you doing? You'll become more disciplined. This is so accurate. I think one of the bigger points. I don't spend money like a dork anymore. Like, I don't buy stuff. I don't have compulsive tendencies like I used to. I don't, and especially being on like a keto diet and being a minimalist, like, I don't waste money on like useless food, alcohol, and I don't waste money on like trinkets and like random things I don't really need, you know? So I'm like the worst tourist in the world now. Like, I don't buy food when I go out to different countries, really. Well, I do, but, you know, limited. And I don't really buy anything at like street markets. And that's what's kind of crazy about Southeast Asia is, if you go to Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, even like the capital of Laos and Vientiane, everything is shopping. All the tourist areas are shopping. I don't deal with any of that. I'll walk around and look, like, we'll do vlogs, but I don't deal with it at all. Easier to find things. I mean, obviously, you don't have a lot to look through. Increases clarity. Clarity definitely, like, I'm focused, man. Like, think about you. Think about your life. This is all about you now. But if you have a house full of stuff and you're sitting down like on a Friday, or like spring cleaning season, right? Like, how many times do you sit there like annoyed, frustrated that you have stuff everywhere, or you can't find something when you need it, you know, stuff like that. And obviously you can be more organized. That would be a solution. But I feel personally, since I have to more of a minimalistic life, and I want to be clear, minimalistic, I don't just throw stuff away. Everything I have has a value. I don't buy useless stuff. It just like I'm trying to find something really useless to show you, but like, I don't have useless stuff where I'm figuring out like, where am I going to pack this? Why do I need this? Like, I don't justify those issues no more, because I don't put myself in those positions, which is really nice. Like, seriously, really nice. Clarity, 100%. More opportunities for enriching experiences. This is a yes and no. I think it talks about it over here too. Let me give you the yes. You're more focused on the moments than you are on carrying around bags, which doesn't allow you to enjoy some separate moments. Like, I remember when we were out in Laos, so I did a I did a vlog about this. Like we threw our motorbike on a kayak and it took us through this mountain. So how that went, so there was a bunch of like tourists there, right? And they all had like bags of stuff, and they didn't want to get on the boats with their expensive like souvenirs because of the water. Like you're going through a mountain and it's got waves, and if you see Lao motorboats, they're quite rough. And they saw I had a bike and they're like, yeah, we don't got no customers today. So I ended up paying them like 5 times the fee. I was like, yo, just throw my bike on your canoe. Let's go. I was able to do that. And the point being is the people that had a bunch of stuff, like a lot of extra stuff, they weren't able to enjoy the experience of that. It was cool and I was able to do it. How many people can say they threw their bike on a canoe? It went through a mountain in Laos. Like, come on. Gives you courage. I don't know. I mean, obviously we can read this stuff, but I want to take things at face value. I don't know. I feel strong. Teaching patience and commitment. This is true. Patience and commitment. Both. When I go shopping, I take patience when I buy stuff. I'm committed to what I do. You know, I don't go out and eat a bunch of, again, keto means I don't eat carbs really. Like I eat like between 10 to 30 carbs a day at most. And it's usually like 10 of them are through a coffee. But past that, I'm committed to it. And I'm patient to be like, well, I've hit my limit today. I'm going to do it tomorrow. And this is the same when I buy stuff abroad. Like, abroad. Like when I travel. Like, I'm committed to being a minimalist. I'm not going to buy useless stuff because it looks cool. And I've seen a lot of cool stuff. But it's just like, I just take a picture. And I'm pretty content with that. And I've learned to be patient and control myself. Like, really, just kind of like being disciplined. I don't know patience. I'm really trying to find where to put patience. But discipline and commitment, I think, are huge. And that's something I've learned very well. So, getting over to the cons. People in your life don't understand. Yeah, especially living in Asia, most people don't understand what you're doing as a minimalist. Like, if you're a vegan, for example, people get it. You don't eat meat. That's it. But when you try to explain minimalism to an Asian person, the whole demographic, I've been all over Southeast Asia and had this talk many times, so I'm just going to say Asian, in my experience, don't understand. A lot of the responses I get are like, are you financially struggling? Are you poor? Do you not have a house? like simple things like that come up. So you will definitely get this. I never experienced this with my family. So I know with you guys, if you're getting into minimalism, if you've done minimalism, or if you're thinking about it, you might get backlash. I don't know where. I mean, unless you're throwing family photos and stuff away, I don't know. I mean, leave a comment below if you've dealt with this in regards to family. Being out here in Asia, people don't get it. And it does kind of distract you from other people because people start thinking you're kind of weird because you're not buying anything. Like the amount of times I've went to markets with other people, like other vloggers and just other people I've met and friends, and I never buy anything. They're just like, okay. Like, it's weird, you know what I mean? Like, you go to a bar to drink beer, but you're not drinking beer with your friends, and they're just like, what are you doing, bro? We're at a bar. And, you know, that's another story that I deal with because beer is not keto friendly, so I don't even drink. And I haven't drank in like 2 years, so I just don't put myself in those positions anyways. When I am at bars, like, I just get a sparkling water, and most people understand. But when it comes to minimalism, yeah, people don't get it. Susceptible to overthinking. I don't overthink anything no more. Like, I'm committed. I'm disciplined. If I don't need it, I don't buy it. If I don't eat it, I don't buy it. It's that simple. Burden of living up to expectations. This kind of goes back to the first one. People don't get it, and they think that there's a way in life. Like, if you're from America, you know that as an American culture, we are consumers. Excessive consumer, like over consumer. And in Asia, it's the same. Like, people buy a lot of useless shit out here. Like, I meet a lot of Vietnamese people, a lot of Thai people, a lot of Singaporeans, a lot of Malaysians. And a lot of them that I've talked to, like, they're struggling financially. You know, this is during the pandemic. So I get it. Like, things are getting bad. Like, especially Malaysia. Like, it really hurt South Malaysia because Singapore shut the border out. And Singapore is a big tourism spot, where the Singaporeans were the big tourist buyers in South Malaysia, and like places like Johor like crashed financially. But you have this like standard where people think you should live. You should have all this stuff and whatnot. And when I talk to people and I don't have a lot, or they see that I just have a backpack and that's it, they're like, what do you bring with you? And I'm like, everything. They're like, okay, you know, like they kind of think it's crazy. So I get looked at a lot, I get questioned a lot because I don't live in like an expectation that they are like used to. Like, it's weird. Like, this guy lives out of a backpack and he's apparently happy. Like, Why don't you have 7 cars and 97,000 million DVDs in a collection and every entertainment Nintendo Sega Genesis system in your house? Like, why does he have all this stuff? That's what we should have. And for me, I would stab myself in the toe if I had that much stuff. And I feel very happy. So you will start living in this position where people will expect you to be somewhere or at least act a certain way, but you really can't. Gifting customs get awkward. Now when I buy stuff for people, I'm not a minimalist. I go out, all out, and I spend a lot because I don't force things on people. Like, I don't force my beliefs of anything into you guys, right? And it's the same with like when I gift for people. Like, I never act like a minimalist person when I gift. I will go all out. But when it comes to receiving gifts, it gets weird. When do you buy a guy that doesn't want anything? You know, I remember this phrase Steve Jobs said. Well, it was Steve Jobs or his staff, but it was pretty much like, what do you buy a guy that has everything? You know, and it's kind of the same with a minimalistic person. What do you buy a minimalist that technically has everything that he or she would ever want, right? So that does get awkward. It's the receiving part. It's not the giving so much. Minimalistic rules, authentic rules for narrative. Nah, not really. That doesn't apply to me. Many fail to move past the physical benefits. This is a huge one. And let me tell you, when I got into minimalistic lifestyle, it took me like 2 years to really have my feet in the ground, for say, right? So a lot of people will throw things away, get rid of a lot of stuff. And they're like, I'm a minimalist. Like I used to research a lot of YouTube stuff. I remember this guy, Matt something, did this massive like YouTube video or TV show. It was like a movie almost, right? But he talked about minimalism, and they interviewed a bunch of people, and a lot of people just throw stuff away. They would say that they didn't feel different. It's the same thing. They're like, after like 3 months, I kind of got back into the old ways, And I took that as a sign because I was, at the time, was a compulsive buyer. I was OCD when it came to that stuff. I had to have things organized, like the OCD part, like the organized part. I was a compulsive shopper. So what I ended up doing was for 2 years, every week or so, I would just sit down with all my stuff. Like, this sounds stupid. Hear me out, though. But I would go to my living room. This is back in America. And I would put everything in the living room. Like, I would literally empty my house into the living room. Minus furniture. And I would just go through and I would pick out like 3 to 5, 10 things sometimes. It really depended on the day, how I felt that day. And I would get rid of those things. So if I didn't use it for the last like month, got rid of it, per se. If I didn't have emotional attachment to it, I got rid of it. Like, if it was just useless stuff that I just had or I forgot about, I pretty much donated it, recycled it, whatever it was. And this really helped me get past the demand of the physical aspect. It really adapt that it is a lifestyle. This isn't like something you do to lose, you know what I mean? Like, you don't get on a vegan diet for a week so you can lose 5 pounds and then you go back to eating normal. You're going to get the 5 pounds back, right? Like, being a vegan means you have to be committed. And being a minimalist means it has to be part of your lifestyle. It has to be a commitment. And it's right over here, commitment, right? So I did take a couple years to get used to it. By the 3rd year, the final, like after it was all said and done, I was very much in tune with it, and I feel great with it. Exposes insecurities? I don't think so. Transition is hard. Just talked about it. Like, my transition was like 2 years, and I'm glad I did. If I didn't do that, if I literally took all that stuff I threw away, like if I knew the future that I was going to throw like all this stuff away, and I was going to keep all this stuff, and then I just threw all that stuff away on day one, I would have not been dedicated. I would have went back because I didn't build up to it, you know what I mean? And can feel isolating. I'm not sure where this is taking it, but I'll throw my 2 cents on it. I feel when you're being a minimalist or like don't even drink alcohol or being on keto diet, like I feel like I picked all the introvert things to do in my life. So you definitely do feel like in isolation. Like, people won't invite you out to go to the market. Like I had this happen a few times at hostels. Like I'd be at a hostel for a week. And when you get to like places like Cambodia and Laos, typically people at hostels are there for like a week at a time. Malaysia's kind of the same too. So if you meet somebody at the hostel, they're gonna be your good friend for like a week, really. I noticed sometimes like after like we'd all go out. They'd invite me, I'd invite them, vice versa. But after a while, sometimes I didn't get invited because the the objective of their going out was to go shopping. All right, well, David doesn't buy shit, so we're not even going to bother asking him. Because they took it in mind as like, I only go out to shop. It's not the experience. So that type of stuff does isolate you. The same with alcohol is another one. I don't drink. Everyone I know knows this. I don't drink. So some people won't even invite me out because they're like, well, we're going to go to a bar and we don't want to tempt David with alcohol around. I mean, I respect that. I really do. And I think that's really cool. I mean, that's a huge friend, right? But it also isolates you from those activities because they misunderstand that I'm in control of what I drink, what I eat, and what I buy. And I can go out to shops and not lose my mind. I can go to a bar, a Bui Vin in Saigon, and be okay. And I could be stuck in a noodle shop in Thailand, and I'm not going to pig out on a bunch of com tom and stuff. Like, I'll be okay. So you will definitely feel isolation when it comes to this stuff. And that's it, actually. So the very last thing I want to talk about is abundance. Now, I've been, again, about 7 years, I've been on minimalist lifestyle. Something has changed. And if you guys have followed how, I don't know if you get into stocks or bonds or crypto or anything, if you have money, American money in your bank account, really any kind of money, you've noticed it's went down a lot. And financially, the world is getting in a bad spot. Granted, it's going up. America's inflation rate went down like 6% in the last 3 months. So, I mean, there is starting to show hope. Something that's happened over the last few years is I've typically only had money, but I never really diversified as much as I should have. And what I started noticing over the last few years is I was losing money. And I wasn't spending. How do you go from shopping all the time, eating all the time, and an alcoholic to a sober keto minimalist that's somehow spending more money than ever? And it wasn't spending, it was that the economy was going down. So I've changed my ideas when it comes to finances. You need to have an abundance of finances. You can never have enough. And diversify it. Have stocks, have bonds, have international stocks. Like getting on Fidelity, you can find these options. Have 2 or 3 savings accounts all about. I think like there's a few of them that offer like 3 to 5% interest rate. Have crypto. I've actually started putting a lot of money in DeFi accounts and crypto and Ethereum and Bitcoin and a few other coins. Sol's another one I've been playing with. I got money everywhere. So if one thing goes, another thing's up. And I found the more you have diversified and the more money you have, the safer you are. Because minimalism is just a physical thing. It's not a financial thing, right? To an extent. And also, invest in physical things of value if you can. If I ever went broke and it was like, I got to sell my MacBook I have in front of me, I'd get what, like a couple $100? I mean, it's a M1 MacBook Air. But it's Asia where you can buy fake ones, right? Like nobody's going to buy this for what it's worth. And that leads me to the idea is if you have extra money, start spending it on things that have value, hold value, like expensive watches, like rare metals, expensive cars, like a Lamborghini, a Porsche. I know this sounds crazy. Like David was doing a minimalist video. Now he's telling us to buy Lambos and Rolexes. The point being, if you have the means, start using money to get physical things that hold value. And this is where I see the abundance having value. I would be okay having 9 or 10 watches that are worth a lot of money because if the American economy, crypto, and everything crashes, that Rolex is still going to have value. That Lamborghini is still going to have value, whatever the new currency is. So that's something I've changed a lot. I diversify a lot of my money. I own a few things now that are quite expensive. So if things do hit the fan, I'm okay. And I got my money in more digital currencies and uncentralized currencies and stuff like that. So definitely do that. Don't just hold money in your bank account and be like, oh, I'll be okay. You will be okay. But as the economy goes down, you're going to go down. And as it goes up, they're going to tax you more for it. That's all there is to it. So till then, guys, I will see you again.